China's Communist Party is at a crossroads. As the party prepares to usher in a new generation of leaders, its political direction is being questioned. The party's strong image has recently been dented by scandals and a weakening economy. Now, some members are urging a return to Mao-era ideals, while others are pushing for more political freedoms and reforms. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we look at the challenges facing China's Communist Party.
大海航行靠舵手，万物生长靠太阳。雨露滋润禾苗壮，干革命靠的是毛泽东思想。
In a time of uncertainty, praying for a China of the past. For Lu Xinzhong, a retired factory worker in eastern China, Mao Zedong is more than a founding father. He is a religion.
I am blessed by Chairman Mao. He's my faith. I burnt incense this morning. I said without you, I would not be here today. I feel him protecting and supporting me spiritually.
Lu has watched with dismay as his nation has steadily moved away from Mao-era policies. Ignoring some controversial history, he idolizes Mao as the kind of ruler China now lacks, one with a strong will to push sweeping change.
I worship Chairman Mao. He wanted to overthrow feudalist slavery and drive away our enemies, whether it was American imperialism or Japanese imperialism. Overall, he was for the People's Republic of China, for Chinese people's independence.
The China Mao inaugurated in 1949 bears little resemblance to the China of today. 3 decades of reforms have stripped away much of its communist ideology and engineered a market economy that has outpaced the rest of the world. But clouds have been growing. With concerns over slowing economic growth, a scandal in the leadership that has threatened to tear rifts within the party, and mounting unrest as the public displays growing frustration toward a wealthy government elite that holds all the levers of power, and some of them vast family fortunes.
As China's Communist Party meets in Beijing to choose its leaders and plot the course of the next decade, it stands at a crossroads. It faces pressure on one front to loosen the political system.
The party must reform in 5 years, or see its funeral in 10.
And pressure from another to re-embrace socialist policies of the past.
What we need to solve is to clean out the leaders, reset the historical order, and go back to the principle and tradition of serving the people.
While others say the country needs to return to its traditional roots.
China has a very serious problem. Its social structure and grassroots society have lost their direction. Traditional culture is the only culture that can bring Chinese people together.
Vice President Xi Jinping is almost certain to ascend to the presidency and head of the Communist Party, with Li Keqiang becoming prime minister. Xi has not publicly stated what direction he wants to pursue, but the choice will not be his alone. He will have to find consensus with the other members of China's top decision-making body, the Politburo Standing Committee. Who will fill the remaining slots is a political guessing game, as different factions push for influence after months of secret deliberations. One former hopeful who will not join the committee is ex-Chongqing party chief Bo Xilai, who was ousted after a murder scandal involving his wife earlier this year. Bo rose as a champion of the new left. He cracked down on organized crime and corruption, invested in public housing, and boosted welfare programs. But his methods drew accusations of abuse and corruption of his own. He has since been stripped of party membership and may face criminal charges. Some say senior leaders feared Bo was seeking to upset the balance of power in the ruling circle.
The Communist Party system is one that eliminates the elite. Anyone too strong cannot get into the core. Bo Xilai was strong, and strong people are daunting.
Historian Zhang Lifan is an influential commentator on Chinese politics. His father was a friend of Xi Jinping's father and served as China's first minister of food until he was purged during the anti-rightist campaign of the late 1950s. Zhang has no contact with current leaders, but he has held discussions with other children of China's founders who wish for political change.
I'm not sure if Xi Jinping can be a strong leader, but I think he can never be as strong as Deng Xiaoping and Jiang Jingguo, so I really doubt if he can push reform forward and save the Communist Party.
China's last significant steps toward political loosening ended with the crackdown on Tiananmen Square protests in 1989.
The wheels of economic reform and political reform are not in sync. Since 1989, the distance between these two wheels has been widening. You can imagine when one wheel is moving and the other one is not. It's actually going in a circle.
Observers point to signals the next government may be more open to change. The conservative Communist Party journal, Seeking Truth, recently published an essay praising the economic reforms of the last 30 years and called for a restructuring of the political system. But whether a leadership that benefits from the status quo will choose to reshape the political order remains uncertain.
Our best opportunity for reform has passed. Now interest groups are very strong. All new leaders of the country must deal with this problem if they want to reform.
We can't rush things. We've talked about where we should start to reform. What is the breakthrough? Some say there should be full independence of the press. To find a breakthrough for wholesale reform is very hard.
Publisher Zhou Zhixing sees himself as a political peacemaker. He runs a website called ConsensusNet, a popular forum for people at opposite ends of the spectrum to debate ideas. And he organizes events to bring together government officials, scholars, and business people who might not ordinarily have contact with each other.
It's a very complicated problem for the Communist Party to administrate the country in a way that makes people happy and that consolidates the power of the party in China. Personally, I think if they don't carry out some effective reform measures, China will be in big trouble, and this trouble may set China back decades. That's what we all don't want to see.
The specter of a period of upheaval looms in the shadows. Outgoing Premier Wen Jiabao warned last March that unless China begins political restructuring, it risks suffering a repeat of the Cultural Revolution. Many experts believe such a breakdown is not likely imminent, but they say unless the government addresses rising inequalities, the threat is real.
I think a cultural revolution will happen if the Communist Party does not start reform for a long time, or if there is a financial crisis. Society will be in disorder. Ambitious schemers might come out and incite other people to kill the rich and the rulers.
The Cultural Revolution began as a power struggle between Mao and his rivals. Mao and his then designated successor, Lin Biao, called for a campaign to purify the Communist Party from bourgeois influence. Teams of students, the Red Guards, attacked their teachers, their parents, intellectuals, and even party leaders, spearheading a frenzy of violence that left tens of thousands of people dead and the nation in chaos.
At that time, we were told it was okay to be rebellious and attack capitalist politicians within the party. That was what Chairman Mao said, and we did as he said.
Lu Shenzhong was a Red Guard in his hometown in Shandong province. He remembers a time of parades, indoctrination sessions, and public shaming. He and his fellow Red Guards denounced their factory manager and the local party secretary, hanging signs with bricks around their necks labeling them capitalists.
Chairman Mao said if he had not launched the Cultural Revolution, the party would have changed its color, and the country would have decayed. He said if he had not defeated them, they would have defeated him. The chairman said we could not let history move backward.
Yet history did change, and many of the capitalist ideas Mao opposed have become a way of life in today's China. Lu believes his country's economic changes have eroded its values.
I am willing to go Chairman Mao's road. Yes, it is toil, but I feel peace inside my heart, and my money is honest, and things are real. Now society is an economic society. People only pay attention to money, but not to people. During Mao's time, things were cheap, and prices didn't rise indiscriminately. Quality was also good, and it was healthy.
For 28 years under Mao, we had socialism, 100% pure socialism. That was one of China's greatest achievements. No other 28 years will be as glorious as those.
Li Keqiang is convinced China's future, like its recent past, will be in socialist color. Li has been a dyed-in-the-wool supporter of the communist cause ever since he fought for the People's Liberation Army in the Communist Revolution. In the 1950s, he rose in the party ranks to serve as secretary to Li Keqiang, a Politburo member who would later become China's president, a position that took him to the inner workings of Zhongnanhai, China's leadership compound. He views Deng Xiaoping's reforms as a major setback for China.
Enrich some of the people. Those people will only exploit the poor. The majority got relatively poor and some even became destitute. In which country do you see capitalists get rich and then the working class gets rich as well? Give me an example. The polarization of wealth in China is even harsher than in many capitalist countries.
Now 90 years old, widowed, and in his third decade of retirement, Li leads a solitary mission to restore the past. He continues to write letters to senior leaders, even though he receives no response. But he is certain the way of Mao is inevitable.
Now, China is capitalist and colonized. But it won't last long. Its internal contradictions will force China back to Mao's socialism. This is predetermined, but the process will be complicated and difficult.
Nostalgia for the Mao era has recently re-emerged on the national stage. Bo Xilai famously led a campaign of singing cultural revolution songs during his tenure in Chongqing. And Mao made an unexpected appearance during anti-Japanese protests in September, as marchers held up the leader's iconic portrait, chanting, "Long live Chairman Mao."
Considering China's internal and external problems, many people have realized Mao Zedong's socialist way is the right way. So they are holding his picture. It's a very important symbol of the awakening of Chinese people.
The gap between the rich and the poor is huge. They see government officials as too arrogant, acting like bosses over ordinary citizens. To them, it's even worse than the time before the Cultural Revolution. Getting rid of government officials like those was the aim of the Cultural Revolution. So they think what Chairman Mao did was really good.
But those who push the nostalgia too far have suffered repercussions. Bo Xilai was purged, and in his wake, the government shut down many leftist websites. Utopia, one of China's most active Maoist forums, was among them.
They are scared of socialism because socialism demands getting rich together, but they just want to protect their own interests.
Utopia co-founder Fan Jinggong joined hundreds of other leftists in signing an open letter last summer, calling for the reopening of the closed sites and demanding the dismissal of Wen Jiabao. They accused him of destroying China's state-owned sector, leaving the nation dependent on foreign capital.
We cannot give up our independence. We cannot develop dependence on the outside. We should set conditions for opening up, only allowing useful things in and rejecting harmful things. This is a healthy approach.
But some say it's dangerous to put too much stock in Maoism without a harsh review of its dark side.
The problems accumulated during the 60 years since the era of Mao Zedong began are not solved yet. The essential question is what changes need to be made. There is no agreement on this issue within the Communist Party internally. So I think the Mao period has to be seriously re-evaluated.
An experiment to restore a Mao-style utopia has been underway in a central China village for the last 25 years. Here in Nanjia, citizens begin their day with revolutionary songs and ride to work past giant posters promoting Mao Zedong thought and communist founders. Mao himself holds court above the main square. In 1986, Nanjia chose to return to a collective model. The village now operates 20 enterprises, including publishing, a brewery, and an instant noodle factory. Citizens in good standing receive free housing, education, and health care.
We were looking for a theory to support our recollectivization, and we decided Mao Zedong thought could guide us.
Wang Hongbin has been Nanjia's Communist Party secretary for 35 years.
Some people say the public sector is less competitive than the private sector. Since Nanjia began developing collectivism in 1986, many private enterprises have collapsed. Nanjia Tun's public sector business not only survives, but also our products are so popular that our production is unable to meet market demand.
Nanjia's citizens say they are happy to trade higher salaries for better benefits. Resident Yu Changshen and his wife live on a pension in a government-provided apartment.
Many of my relatives have seen my home, and they said that my life was better than theirs because I was living in a very reassuring environment. And they are right. I don't have to worry about my future.
But only certain people can earn full benefits. Non-citizens, including migrant workers who help fill factory payrolls, usually do not qualify. Village residents are rated on a 10-star system to determine how many benefits they receive. They earn stars for work performance, neighborliness, and for following the law.
If you only have 9 stars, that means you have to pay 10% for your medical care. But if you have 10 stars, you don't have to pay a cent.
In Nanjia, even marriage is handled in a collective way. New couples tie the knot in a mass wedding held once every October on China's National Day.
The group wedding is an advantage of collectivism. It shows the warmth of a big family. Also in this way, we can prevent some extravagance or old bad habits.
Not everyone sees Nanjia as a cause for celebration. A 2008 investigation by the newspaper Southern Metropolis claimed the village is economically insolvent, propped up only by loans approved by party officials. Wang says Nanjia's debt is now rather low and insists his collective is better insulated from economic crisis.
Here, when enterprises are in trouble, the staff stays here. They're all villagers. They see the enterprises like their own children. They're united to fight the crisis. It's their duty and responsibility to raise the child. We cannot let them go.
One movement is seeking political inspiration in a father figure from China's ancient past. philosopher whose teachings had a profound influence on Chinese society and government for 2 millennia. This ceremony at a temple in Hebei province is a celebration of the 2563rd birthday of Confucius. In attendance are local Communist Party leaders, a rare sight since the Cultural Revolution, when Confucianism was condemned by communists, and many of its temples and shrines were destroyed.
They've ruined the system through collectivization. Destroying tradition was a condition for Mao to set up his new society blueprint. The system shaped in the Mao era runs completely opposite to the Chinese tradition.
Yao Zhongqiu is a writer calling for China's government to rehabilitate Confucian thought.
China is Confucianism. No matter which direction China goes, its foundation is Confucianism. It can't have stable order without the root of Confucianism. This has been proven by the past 2,000 years.
Yao says for today's China, Confucius' teachings about virtue in government have never been more relevant.
The core of Confucianism is about how to cultivate a group of morally excellent and capable people to lead society. This leader is called a gentleman. But there is no gentleman in this society. Everyone is competing to be a villain.
Confucian culture has seen a revival in recent years. The government has established hundreds of Confucius institutes across the globe to promote Chinese culture and language. Some modern Confucianists are even calling to restore it as the state's ideology, creating a uniquely Chinese political system separate from democracy and communism.
Confucius is a symbol of Chinese civilization. The country has to respect it. And the government knows this. For example, the Confucius Institutes. Why are they not named Mao Zedong Institutes? Actually, the government clearly knows that only Confucius can stand for Chinese culture.
Behind the scenes, another player in China's politics, the Internet. Though the government invests heavily in policing it, the web remains an accessible medium for Chinese to air their views and expose injustices. China's microblog sites have empowered ordinary citizens to sometimes rally public anger against perceived abuses before censors can shut it down. Dujia is a web video production house that aims to counter critical coverage of China by Western media. Its audience is mostly young people with patriotic zeal, China's so-called angry youth.
Our patriotic movement involves a wide range of young people who have come together in a collection of diverse online groups. But they share some common views about China's rise and its recognition in the world. Many young people have actively started to express their thoughts on politics and the economy. That's what the internet provides us, an easier access which ordinary youth can join.
But no one knows if online pressure will penetrate the confines of the leadership compound of Zhongnanhai. Few young people have much hope for any rapid opening of the establishment.
I think China will not witness tremendous changes after the Congress because although we have a new leader team, but we are still under the leadership of the Communist Party. So I think nothing will change and the basic policy will still be carried out.
Sure, there's some problems within the Chinese political environment, but it's no use to pay too much attention to it, because we normal people can't change much. Sometimes it's not good for us to care about it. I'd rather pay more attention to my own life.
But some say it is only public pressure that will influence change.
Reform will definitely fail without the public support, because the anti-reform forces are very strong within the party.
A warning at this pivotal moment that if the government fails to heed the voice of the people, it does so at its peril.